All of us who were Rama students had a contract with him before we came in. We had an agreement. I was born 3 years, 3 months, and 3 days before Rama. My whole life, from birth on, I felt a pull to Los Angeles area. I'd never even been into Arizona until I was 7 years old. I'd always felt to go to the West Coast. This pull there. At 5, I went into samadhi. But because I had no teacher, nobody really knew what to do about it. Throughout my youth, the teenage years, and even into my college years, I would have awakenings 3 or 4 times a year. They were not sustainable. I couldn't make them happen when I wanted them to. It was as if I were going down a long hallway and there were all of these doors. And I would look inside a door and I would see the light, but then it's like those speakeasy windows, the thing would shut. I'd have to go to the next door and I'd look and I'd see somebody, another meditation. I tried so many different meditation techniques and workshops that I actually was awarded an honorary doctoral degree in awareness psychology by East West University. It was the saddest day of my life when I got it, because when I got the degree, I knew I hadn't achieved, I hadn't woke up yet. Just had inklings here and there, an inkling here and there. And I was so frustrated. Everywhere I looked inside these little doors, I could look in and I could see, sit with Muktananda and see the light, but it wasn't mine. Sit with another teacher, see the light, but it wasn't mine. One day, there was this full-page ad in the Los Angeles Times that had Rama's picture on it. And below, it had dates of his previous incarnations. I mean, dates. He actually had the dates. I went and I sat in that room, and it wasn't a peephole anymore. It wasn't just a little window. It was a doorway. And once I went in that doorway, I never left. One year after studying with Rama and Lakshmi, he kicked me out. I never understood it. I didn't feel like I'd done anything wrong. But there I was. I was staying with my brother at the time, who was a minister of religious science in Riverside, California. And part of their church, they taught meditation classes. And he had said, you've studied with an enlightened teacher for a year. Why don't you come and teach this class? And I said, no, I could never do that. I could never do that. I'd sat with Rama. I knew what meditation was. And he said, okay, then, I'll teach it. I was planning on teaching it anyway. And he walked out of the room, and I thought about it. And I thought, somebody's got to teach it. So I went in and I said, I'll hold the class for you. So on the day of the meditation, I got all of my charts and all of my graphs of, alpha and beta and all the different states of mind that you go into in meditation. I had an entire script worked out, and everyone was in the room. There was about 20 people there, I guess. And I said, before we start, I'd like to meditate to some music. And I put on some of the music that Rama meditated to. And the most amazing things happened. I suddenly went into the deepest, brightest meditation. It was as if I was sitting in the room with Rama. And every time I talked, every time I tried to bring someone into the light, I would go into those states of mind. I didn't necessarily go into them that much out of the class, but every time I taught, every time, I would go into samadhi. I taught for a couple of years, 2 or 3 years, I don't know time anymore. And then one day I was called to study with him again in New York. And I went there. It was the hardest time of my life. I wasn't accepted by the other students. They all thought I was a loser, and I guess I was. I didn't do very good in martial arts. My computer science was not all that great. Never really got the money line. But I got what I came for. I got the line into enlightenment. And the pathway for me and what I have recommended to every single student, because it works for me, why wouldn't I recommend it? I think that if you're not teaching, you're losing your power. If you're not putting the enlightenment of others ahead of your own, then you're at the end of the line, at the back. But when you push other people ahead of you into the light with a full heart, somehow you're in front of everyone. When you push somebody aside, when you put them down, it drops your consciousness and you lose your connection. And throughout the time that I knew Rama, I valued my connection to him as if it were an optic fiber. I never let anything or anyone come between me and Rama. He was my only teacher. I never studied with another. I didn't have to. I was teaching. And when I taught, I was with Rama. And that's true to this day. I had an agreement with him that he would wake me up. I went to Los Angeles at the right time. He fulfilled his agreement with me. What can you say about such a being? What could you possibly say? I know that who I am. And I know who you are too. You are the divine incarnation of enlightenment. You're nobly born. You're the brightness in the darkness. Peace in the midst of chaos. Love in the midst of hatred. This incarnation is winding down for me. I'm 75. A few more years to go. But really, it's up to most of you. All I can say is, happy birthday, Rama.